This happened 2 years ago when Samir, Usman, and Zoya set off in their car toward a small village named Kala Koh, nestled deep within the mountains. The three of them had a passion for exploring mysterious places and making documentaries. They had heard about an old mansion hidden in the middle of the Kala Koh jungle, known locally as the Haunted Mansion. According to the villagers, the family living in that mansion had mysteriously vanished in a single night during the 18th century. Ever since that night, anyone who ventured near the mansion never returned.
"Guys, I don't think this route looks right," Zoya said from the back seat. Heavy fog and light rain enveloped the outside world. The road was so narrow that no oncoming vehicles could be seen. Usman tightened his grip on the steering wheel and said, "Zoya, we've come this far, so we can't turn back now. This documentary will be the biggest success of our lives." Samir checked his camera and added, "Even though the villagers explicitly warned us not to go near the mansion after sunset, nighttime is when you feel the true terror." Around 11 p.m., their car came to a halt in the middle of the jungle. The road ended, leaving only a foot track to move forward. The three grabbed their bags, took out their flashlights, stepped out of the car, and began walking along the jungle path. The jungle was dead silent, broken only by the crunching of dry leaves beneath their boots and the distant howling of jackals. After walking a short distance, a grand yet rusted iron gate loomed before them. The mansion's walls had blackened with age and were wrapped in overgrown vines. The main entrance door stood half open, as if waiting for their arrival. "This place is truly terrifying," Zoya said, shivering. Samir turned on his camera and swept its spotlight across the mansion's walls. "Let's go inside." As soon as they stepped over the threshold, the front door slammed shut behind them with a loud crash. Usman immediately spun around and tried to push it open, but it felt as solid as a brick wall. "What just happened?" Panic was evident in Zoya's voice. "Take it easy, Zoya. It's an old door. It probably just blew shut with the wind." Usman tried to reassure her, though his own voice trembled. Inside, the mansion smelled foul, a sickening mix of rotting flesh and decaying old paper. Ancient portraits hung on the walls. Their faces had faded away, yet their eyes seemed to follow the trio's every move. The trio set up a small camp in the center of the main hall and lit a fire. At 1 a.m., they heard footsteps coming from the floor above. Thump, thump, thump. "Where is that sound coming from?" Samir asked, angling his flashlight upward. "There's no one here. It's just our imagination," Usman said. But right then, the sound of a baby crying echoed from above. The cry was so sorrowful that it sent chills down their spines. Zoya covered her ears. "I want to get out of here. We made a huge mistake coming here." Samir summoned his courage and said, "I'll go up and check. Usman, stay with Zoya." Flashlight in hand, Samir began ascending the old wooden staircase. The steps creaked loudly with every movement. Reaching the second floor, he saw a long corridor lined with rooms on both sides. At the far end of the corridor, a door stood slightly ajar. The crying sound was coming from inside that room. Samir slowly walked toward it. He raised his camera to his face and pushed the door open. Inside the room was an old wooden cradle, rocking back and forth violently on its own. But there was no baby inside.
Written on the wall in blood were the words, "No one leaves from here." Samir gasped in terror. He backed away and sprinted down the stairs as fast as his feet could carry him. When Samir reached the bottom, Usman and Zoya were nowhere near the camp. The fire had gone out, leaving total darkness. "Usman! Zoya!" Samir shouted desperately. There was no reply, only the rustling sound of the cold wind. Samir swept his flashlight around the hall. That's when he spotted a dark shadow standing at the far end of the room. The shadow had no distinct shape, but two glowing red eyes stared straight at him. "Who are you?" Samir asked, shaking. The shadow suddenly moved toward Samir at an impossible speed. Fleeing for his life, Samir ran into a side room that led down to the mansion's basement. Once inside the basement, he locked the door behind him. The air was thick with pure dread. Shining his flashlight, Samir saw Usman and Zoya lying unconscious in a corner of the basement. "Usman! Zoya! Wake up!" Samir splashed a few drops of water on their faces. Usman slowly opened his eyes and gasped. "Samir, that isn't a human. There was an ancient curse on this mansion. These spirits will kill us." Zoya regained consciousness as well. Trapped together in the basement, they suddenly heard heavy pounding on the door from the outside. Thump! 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 Chanting in a strange, ancient tongue began echoing from the walls. It felt as though centuries-old ghosts and tormented spirits had gathered all at once. Looking around frantically, Samir spotted a small, high window, ventilator, on one of the basement walls that opened out toward the jungle. "Look, we can get out through there!" Samir exclaimed. Usman grabbed an old iron rod and began bashing the rusted iron bars of the window. Outside, the basement door was on the verge of breaking down. The dark shadow shrieks echoed throughout the underground room. With a final desperate blow, the bar snapped. Usman pulled Zoya up first, and she squeezed through to the outside. Samir followed next, with Usman pushing him up before attempting to climb out himself. Just then, a blackened hand reached out from the dark and grabbed Usman by the leg. "Samir, pull me!" Usman screamed. Samir and Zoya grabbed Usman's hands and pulled with all their strength. With a hard tug, Usman broke free, and all three tumbled onto the jungle floor outside. They didn't look back. They ran blindly through the dense jungle until they finally reached their car. Jumping inside, Usman started the engine and drove toward the village at full speed. When they glanced back through the rear window, a massive, dark shadow stood atop the mansion, watching them leave. After that night, neither Samir, Usman, nor Zoya ever attempted to visit a mysterious place again. And that mansion in Kala Koh still stands deep within the jungle, enveloped in darkness and terror, waiting for its next visitor.